Hello and welcome to Focus. In less than 2 weeks, Brazil will go to the polls in presidential and parliamentary elections. They bring an end to the current reign of President Lula da Silva, an influential and charismatic leader. Campaigning to replace him has been ongoing for months, and as the final push to find his successor hots up, we're looking back at his time at the top, his legacy, and finding out what the future holds for the country. Our correspondents have been to Sao Paulo to discover how Lula benefited Brazil's poorest.
In Sao Paulo's poorer neighbourhoods, lotto agencies also serve as cash payout points for the government's welfare programme. A yellow card signifies the bearer gets the Bolsa Familia, an initiative launched in 2003 by President Lula. It gives 10 to 90 euros a month to families living below the poverty line.
Back in 2003, you'd see families who didn't have enough to eat, who lived in really precarious conditions. Today, those same families get help, the minimum to survive. It's really noticeable.
In the slums, living conditions are still very tough. But those receiving the Bolsa Familia tell you they are far happier now in Lula's Brazil. In the home of Dona Juscelia, there are 5 family members living in 2 tiny rooms. The first is used as a kitchen, living room and parents' bedroom. The second is where the children sleep.
Here, as you can see, we're really packed into a small place, but we manage to get by with the little we have.
Illiterate, Dona Juscelia works as a cleaning woman and her husband helps her out. Between them, they earn just over 200 euros a month. For the past 5 years, the Bolsa Familia has topped up their meagre revenue.
It allows me to buy shoes for my daughters, to make sure they always have shoes on their feet. The food they get is also a lot better, because if you have 20 or 30 euros more, on top of what you earn from work, well, that helps a lot.
In exchange for the money, authorities require parents to vaccinate their children and send them to school. Each pupil's absence is noted by teachers. If a child misses too many classes without a valid reason, the Bolsa Familia is cut off.
Whether it's sunny or raining, I can tell you that the children are here at school. The parents are really worried about any absenteeism, so they also get concerned about it.
The parents are made responsible. The children are educated. Lula's flagship welfare program costs Brazil 0.5% of its GDP.
Well, Professor Olivier Daben, Director of the Political Observatory for Latin America and the Caribbean at Sciences Po University here in Paris, joins me in the studio. Welcome to France 24. Let's look at the positives first, because we're painting a fairly rosy picture of Lula da Silva's reign in Brazil. He did undoubtedly, though, benefit the poor.
Certainly, it made a big difference. This conditional cash transfer program, Bolsa Familia, has allowed the country to make significant progress. I mean, it's impressive. Maybe for the first time, it can be said that Brazil is a country of middle classes. It used to be a poor country with more than 60% of the Brazilians living below the poverty line. It's no longer the case. I mean, now you have more than half of the population belonging to the middle class. So it really is a major change for Brazil.
What didn't go so well then for Lula da Silva?
Well, first, providing education, for instance, for the kids is a good thing, but then you have to provide good education, and the educational system is not that good in Brazil. And over the problem of education, you have all the structural problems in Brazil that have not been addressed by Lula in those last 8 years, like the health system, education, fiscal system. There are a lot of policies that have not been implemented those last years, and it remains to be seen if now Dilma will do the job.
Looking at the welfare policies, would it be fair to say that Lula kind of targeted something that would be well recognised to reflect the work that he's done? I mean, did he go far enough in helping the welfare state?
Well, what he did was giving away money. It's a cash transfer program. He's just giving away some money for the poor. It has made a difference for millions of families. So really, it's important. But you don't solve the structural problems of a country doing this. Although it's a high impact, very visible, and very cheap program, it has yielded very interesting political returns for Lula and his party. But you don't just solve the problems that way.
So how will what Lula da Silva has done for poor families in Brazil translate on polling day? He's not running himself, but obviously for his Workers' Party.
Of course, he's very charismatic and very popular. He has more than 80% of support right now, and he's transferring his charisma, popularity to Dilma Rousseff, who will probably win the election.
OK, well, if we can just cross now briefly to our correspondent Mark Burley, who is on the line now in Brazil. We've been talking about how Lula is obviously a very popular, charismatic leader. How can his success for Dilma Rousseff build on what he's achieved?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Lula on the campaign trail is being treated as almost like a rock star. Dilma, you have to say she pales in comparison. She doesn't have any of the charisma. She's very bureaucratic. She obviously doesn't have the human touch. But Lula's been very, very successful in transferring a lot of his popularity to her, and this is obviously pushing her up in the polls. She went from unknown to being easily the poll leader now. It's very hard to see her losing in the elections in just over 2 weeks. What's interesting with her is everyone's saying that she's going to continue the same policies as Lula. She comes from the same sort of left-wing ethic as he does. She's going to very much look at helping the poor. There are some concerns that have to be said about the degree of state control she will be exerting over the booming Brazilian economy in the years ahead if she does become elected.
And just finally, Professor, looking at Dilma Rousseff, looking at the new government, the new elections that are coming up, will what affects the poor, will, the poor and the work that Lula's done, will that be continued, expanded?
Well, certainly. What is difficult to assess is the importance of charisma in politics in general. She will keep on implementing the same policies and Bolsa Familia in particular. But without the same charisma, I think the Brazilians are going to complain about certain negative things that have been hidden away, like corruption, like these major structural problems that have not been addressed. And this is not going to be the same Brazil, definitely.
So more needs to be done?
More needs, of course.
OK, thank you very much indeed, Professor Olivier Deban. Thank you for joining us. That's all we have time for in this edition of Focus. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.